Hanoi, many years ago, Hanoi was awarded as a city for peace. And Vietnamese people are very well known for hospitality. In the past, Vietnamese people are easy. They are very easy to harmonize, to accept the difference. I can give you an example, like religion. In the past, we have like the harmonies of three kinds of religion, like Buddhism, Confucianism, and Taoism. And we Vietnamese people, they accept and they harmonize it. Do you think that that character, that feature of character of Vietnam, do you think that it is valuable in educating, in the global citizenship educating?
Certainly, national character is expected to play a major role. And when the national character is so open arms, so able to create means of connection and communication, will definitely enhance the possibilities of global citizenship education. And even more, it could become an example of the kind of attitude that one expects in extending a welcome to someone else who is different than us. So I really cherish that national character of Vietnam. And in my first trip to Vietnam, I have experimented this hospitality beyond and above what I ever expected.
And on Vietnamese media over the past few days, there is a very hot issue about the Vietnamese students who study overseas, that they should return to our country after studying, or they should stay at foreign countries. Because some people think that they should return to Vietnam to contribute to our country, but others think that they should stay at foreign country because the living condition there is much better than in Vietnam, and they can do like more research. They have condition to develop their own profession. So what do you think about this? Is it relevant to the notion of global citizenship education?
Well, certainly people who leave their own countries travel abroad, as I did. I had to leave Argentina because of a dictatorship and my life was a risk. We become globetrotters. I have lived in 4 different countries, I speak some languages. So from my own personal experience, access to alternative cultures give you a better understanding of yours. By making distance with your life in a particular place, you understand it better. So it is always a plus when you leave. Now, should you return? Well, here is a complicated story. First of all, my dean, Dr. Marcelo Suarez Orozco, has said in writing that migration is in the DNA of human beings. If you really look at the history of humanity, people have constantly migrated. It's not new, and it's not only in Vietnam. That's part of history. Secondly, when people migrate, will they ever come back? Well, there are different experiences. Let me tell you 2 typical experiences. For academics, people who are very well educated, one could argue that the bulk of the educational experience was done in the nation, and therefore they should return and pay the dues. Well, in some countries, if you leave with a fellowship, which you have to come back and work several years in the country to pay back the fellowship. That is correct. But at the same time, people seek their own path, and in their own path, they make different decisions. So there is not an actual answer to this question which is univocal. What you have here is the following. Look at the creation of the Silicon Valley in the US. Who were the people that in the 80s created the Silicon Valley and the great technology that we use today? Well, a great deal of them were engineers from France. A very large number were Indian technologists and scholars from India and Chinese from China. What happened that when India and China began to open up, many of them returned. And that fueled the actual expansion of what is called emerging nations or BRIC nations, right? So, did it work well for India and China? Of course it did. Did it work well for France? Well, many of them returned to France. So the question is not so much a discussion in generic terms, but a discussion in historical terms. People make decisions of how much time they want to spend outside their own countries. When you have children, these children have grew up in a particular place that is not your original place. They may speak your language, but they don't have the same attachment to the country as you do. And yet, as an immigrant, I can tell you, the immigrant is always longing from the country they have left. And they always feel that they have never fully become incorporated in the country they have arrived. It's like living a life on two different horses. And this tension is constant. So I'm not surprised to find a very distinguished Taiwanese professor who was a colleague of mine, who is now a very important, the chancellor of the most important Taiwanese university, who returned. He didn't want to return. He was an engineer. He have created corporations. He was very well off. He was very happy at UCLA as a professor, but the invitation came. He couldn't refuse. So he decided to come back, take the helm of this very important university, and use all his knowledge and experience back into Taiwan. This dialectic of leaving and coming back is very common. And even people who don't actually return permanently to live in Vietnam, coming back, they make important contributions. And you know why? Because we live in a network society. And these people come back with a lot of contacts here and elsewhere. So this is an important conversation. Let's have the conversation, but let's look at the history of migrations, and particularly history of brain drain, because what is at stake here is the following question. When our brains leave, do they drain the brains here? When our brains leave, will they ever come back? That is part of the conversation. So my sense is that it's very good to have this conversation at this moment, because it means that things are happening. People are moving, and it's controversial, but let's have the controversy. With the controversy, we'll have results. With results, we'll enhance the possibility of people to do better things for Vietnam.
So do you think that global citizenship education will help to answer the question, or to help people to talk, to have more like vision, more relevant reason to talk about this issue?
Well, definitely, because when you begin to look not at individual migrants, but at people that contribute to the construction of global knowledge, global technology, global business, you are talking about a different type of individual. You are talking about global citizens. There are already many types of global citizens. Let me give you 2 or 3 examples. I am one of them. I lecture all over the world. I am in newspapers in places that I never lived. Those global public intellectuals played a major role. Then you have another type of globetrotter, the businessman, a businesswoman who moves back and forth across the different borders to close deals. There are many of them. Let me give you a third example. The question of collective markets. People who have been abrogated, who have advocated for the creation of the European Union over the last 65 years. There are people who are maybe Portuguese, but they live in Belgium, or they are people who live in former Soviet societies, but they actually they come from other parts of Europe. There is this conglomerate of individuals building common markets. Those are global citizens. And finally, the most prominent of all of them are the people that are fighting for the environment, the developmentalists, the people that are constantly challenging predatory cultures. These people work all over the world. And these people, some of them are in entertainment industry, these people are very important to protect the environment. I gave you 4 examples of global citizens, and this is crucial. We need more of them.
And when the global citizen become more popular, do you think that personal character is still valuable?
Oh, you talk about national character, and I already agree with you. Personal character makes a big difference. People who are very timid could become central in some conversations. People who are very outgoing could become central in some conversations. Really, you make the best of what you have and in developing models of global citizenship. So I will say yes, certainly, by all means, what we have ahead of us is a challenge, and individuals should meet that challenge with optimism and utopia. You know what utopia is? Utopus means no place in Latin. Utopia means that you have a dream. And this dream may not be for today, maybe for tomorrow. So with the utopia, what you have is the idea that you're going to begin to walk. But you take one step ahead of you, and the horizon moves back one step. You take another step, and the horizon moves back another step. So what is the utopia for? Is to make you walk. And global citizenship education is both a reality and an utopia that we need to build.
And do you have something to say more about global citizenship education?
Well, I would say
to Vietnamese reader.
I would say, first of all, thank you for this opportunity to talk about this important topic. I think the leadership in Vietnam has made, I'm not an expert on Vietnam, I'm not an expert on the culture, on the language, on the economy, so my comments are rudimentary. But my sense is that Vietnam is taking a path of progress and a path of understanding, which will certainly contribute to global citizenship education. Vietnam has shown a sense of humanity with the examples I put before, which are remarkable. And Vietnam is emerging as an important player in the world system, and particularly now with the reapproachment of closeness with the US even more than in the past. Leaving behind the past of wars and putting together their heads for a future of peace that makes Vietnam continue to be a very special country.
Thank you, Professor Carlos, and thank you for the utopia model. I think that Vietnam should learn a lot from this. Thank you very much. Cảm ơn quý vị khán giả đã theo dõi bàn tròn trực tuyến của chúng tôi. Xin cảm ơn quý vị và hẹn gặp lại.